In this video, I'm going to show you how to place your rear upper control arm on this Jeep Liberty. This connects the top of your rear axle to the body of the vehicle. I always recommend replacing control arms in pairs, left and right at the same time. Let's install these TRQ control arms. Let's remove this wheel, 19mm socket for all 5 of your lug nuts, remove them, and then take the wheel off. A little tip, on these vehicles it is common for these lug nuts to swell so your socket won't quite fit on. You're going to have to tap it on, seat it on the lug nut, take the lug nut off, and then get the lug nut out of the socket by tapping it out through this hole with a punch. Remove the wheel. It doesn't matter at which end you start. I'm just going to start here towards the front of the control arm. You need an 18mm socket to put over the nut. Probably a swivel unless you're using a breaker bar or long ratchet. And the bolt on the other side, the head of the bolt actually goes through the frame that way, and it is held with a piece of metal there, so you don't have to hold the bolt. It doesn't actually even have a bolt head. It's basically just held captive in there. So we're going to unthread this, and then we'll have to punch the bolt out. At this point, to punch the bolt out, I'm going to start with a small dead blow rubber mallet. Hopefully it's not seized in the bushing. If it is, we'll have to step it up from there. I'm going to put the mounting nut back on. You can use a steel hammer with this. I'm just going to directly go with an air chisel with a pointy bit, very slowly feather it and push the bolt through. There we go. That's nice and loose. To finish pushing it out, I'm going to use a punch. All right, bolt came out the other side. There is a little bit of tension on here because this is supposed to be torqued at right height, so that's normal. From the other side, here's the bolt. On the other end of this control arm, we have an 18mm mounting nut and a 15mm bolt that goes through it. Remove the bolt and pull the control arm right out. There's your control arm. Take your new control arm and you're going to see that this bushing at the bottom sticks further out on one end than the other. The end that sticks further out needs to face towards the inside of the differential housing. So like that. I grabbed my bolt and put some anti-seize on it so that the shank of it wouldn't rust. Stick it through and take your mounting nut, start it onto the threads. I'm going to get these close, but I can't bottom them out until the vehicle is on the ground with the weight of it on this arm. Otherwise, we're going to pinch the bushings at an angle that is not going to be right height. Therefore, at right height, they will be under tension and wear prematurely. Hold the mounting nut and just get this bolt a little closer. There we go, this still moves around, so we'll leave it like that. On the other end, take the control arm. I put anti-seize all over the mating areas, as well as on this large bolt here. Stick it through the mounting hole, line up the control arm, push it through all the way, and make sure on the back side, if you look, it'll have that little hook that holds it on. Make sure that slides into its slot so it can actually do its job and hold it on. I'm just going to wipe off all the excess anti-seize here. Thread on the nut. Let's get this mounting nut a little bit closer. This still moves around. So at this point, let's lower the vehicle on jack stands, unless you are already on jack stands, and then this would already be at right height. But I have to lower mine since I'm on a lift. You'll see that the control arm will move. Once it's basically on its full weight, we can tighten these up. I have a jack stand set up. The wheel on the other side is still on, as well as all the other wheels. So let's go down. There we go. This is right height right here. You can see the control arm evens out in height. So now we can tighten it up and torque it. The torque for this bolt is 85 foot-pounds. Unfortunately, because of the backing shield here, brake rotor, and the spring on this side, I can't fit a socket on either end to torque this. So I'm going to have to do this with a wrench. Now the vehicle is going to come up a little bit for me so I can put the wheel on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten it by hand now, make it nice and snug. Then once it comes up, I can finish up the torque. But once it is tight by hand, it will not move. So I'm going to be okay raising it up and then torquing it. That's nice and tight. The torque for this one is 70 foot-pounds. All right, that's it right there. Now I'm going to go back up so I can do two things, torque this and put the wheel back on. With the vehicle up in the air and the spring expanded a little bit, or extended, I have space for my torque wrench. Once again, 85 foot-pounds is the torque for this rear bolt. Let's get the wheel back on. Put back on all 5 of your lug nuts. Bottom them out in a cross pattern so the wheel can seat evenly, and also in a cross pattern, tighten them to 100 foot-pounds. Once again, 100 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Double check them if you want. There you have it, job is done.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.